we have a pretty cozy atmosphere today, so I feel like we could make it more casual. So I just wanted to know my crowd today, could you show me anything if you're on the developer side? And then could the product people show me anything? Let's start with the developers. So if you do something for development, if you're an engineering manager or anything, could you please just raise your hands? Okay, I assume the other half do something with products. Is there anybody else who's not touching any of those? Okay, who are you guys? Okay, so that's still products. I believe product people are more than managers. There are designers, there are UX writers, there are analysts, by the way. You could actually attribute them to development, but mostly they're product people. You guys, what do you do?
I'm Mikhaylyuk, so testing is kind of,
Okay, yeah, kind of in between.
Exactly.
That's correct. You?
Scrum Master.
Scrum Master. Oh, you will like this presentation. Okay, then let's start. Would that work for me? Yeah. A few words about myself. My name is Andrey. Since 2014, I worked for different international companies, actually 2 of them. So first one was a challenge to me because I joined a company that has a very old business model, a very old product that basically resembles something that is made in the 90s, both from the product and the engineering side. And we managed to relaunch that in 5 years, and now the company makes $800 million per year. So basically, that is a huge success, that is a unicorn. And again, if you're on the dating side for some reason, you could try using dating.com. That was something we created along with a lot of different niche products that fit in the same portfolio. Then I decided to do something with my karma after 5 years spent in dating. So I joined Flo. And if you know, it is a health company that started as a period tracker app, and now that is a huge health app. I mean, that's #1 in most of the stores, both for revenue or downloads in the health and fitness category. So that's kind of cool because we actually catered to the half of the audience only because like we're catering for the female part, and just recently we started catering to the male parts as their partners. So again, that was an amazing journey. I joined then, we had 0 monetization, and it was a very interesting journey because it started with you can't monetize a period tracker. A lot of people told me that, and basically I'm 100% sure that is true. You can't monetize a period tracker. That's why you have to make something else, and we made a health app out of that. We made it with a premium-first approach, and that helped us drive revenue, drive monthly active audience, and so on. I'm diving deeper into my experience, not because I like to boast about that. That will be something we will need on the next slide, because I will tell you what is actually Product Scrum about and where it could work. So yeah, and for now, I decided that I should quit full-time because I kind of burned out and my work-life balance is like shit. So I thought that building my own business would fix that. Nope, don't do that, never. So basically the balance is even worse, but well, at least I make more money, so that's kind of fine. So the flow I wanted to cover is actually working for most of the companies except larger enterprise when you have a roadmap that is actually created for 5 years ahead and you can't do anything about that. And if you know you will need to ship a feature that actually integrates something that is discontinued, you still have to ship this feature. So basically, if you feel like you're going to work in a company like that in the coming 5 years, I'm not sure my talk will be relevant to you. So leave. If not, or if you prefer to listen, that in any case, we could proceed. So for any company, no matter how it works, basically the growth starts with this flow. It may be different from, let's say, where the ideas come from. So maybe that is a strong founder, like a one-man band or a one-woman band, who is driving that, who is telling what to do, who is creating not only vision, but creating feature descriptions and so on. So sometimes it works on the smaller side of companies. Sometimes I have seen bigger companies, unicorns, that are led by just one person. I mean, some of you could use Revolut, and that's basically a company like that. So most of ideas come from Stronsky. So still, on the bright side of that, there are companies that source their ideas with their teams, with their users, where everybody is very friendly, knows what to do, and even a developer knows exactly what a user wants, knows the company vision, and understands what every feature looks like. Basically, I have seen just a few companies like that, but most of us are in the middle. We're either moving to the one side or to the other, but still, we're following the same flow. So we have ideas, and the ideas may be pretty broad. We need to create hypotheses out of these ideas so we could test it and understand if it works or not. Basically, creating this hypothesis and shipping this hypothesis is like 90% of what the company does. 10% is for accidents. So basically, it's how we learn. So either that's positive. We know that we could do something else that resembles that, or that's negative, and we should either abandon that or should correct our approach. That was just a short dive into the flow so we could understand what are we actually optimizing and how the companies may really benefit from following the product Scrum methodology. Wrong way. Okay, so basically, if you'd ask a person who is not that into software development, that would be how they would describe how things are going on. So there are product people doing their thing. They are trying to describe what they need to do. Then there is a perfect documentation that could be moved straight to the engineers, and then engineers have zero questions about that. They start developing, they start delivering, and you get that right in place. I could see people smiling in the audience because me personally, I never seen that work. So usually that looks like that. So you try to move it in this direction, but there are questions, more of them coming, and developers are basically challenging the PMs, and the PMs are challenging the developers. And actually, I wouldn't say that is a problem. The problem is this thing may be so time-consuming that we will spend more time on that, more time answering useless questions from both sides than actually developing things. So basically, there are some challenging areas in this approach, either the first side, where it's super straightforward, or the second one, when you just allow everybody to ask any questions and spend as much time as they want on, talking about the product. So basically, there are a few areas that could be easily fixed if you focus on them. So first one, you could rely on your PMs. You could feel like your product manager is the one who knows the product for sure. So who's a real ambassador of your users. Is that true? Well, mostly. But you still have some gray areas where a PM may do their job for, let's say, 70 to 80%. So that would be great efficiency. But you will still have some hypotheses that are moving towards the funnel, and basically they're losing sense. They're losing some crucial details that we actually wanted to ship, but the PM may decide that he or she is going to reinvent that. we're not just copying a feature from a competitor. We're acting as a creator. And that's not so bad. So you have to be creative. But sometimes, while you are being creative, you really get rid of the one thing that was crucial in the feature, and you remove that because you feel like, okay, that's unnecessary because that will take too long to develop, so we will do everything like them, but this single feature will be dropped out. And this single feature is actually the one that mattered. So they need challenge. They need someone who will talk to them. They need someone who will follow up them during the funnel and talk to them about that and ask them, are we really going to develop that to do this? Or we don't get that right for some reason. So the second call out is actually for the engineers. And engineers are actually challenging people, but they're challenging product people when they have documents in place. And basically products requirements are already uploaded to their Confluence or anywhere else, and they start asking questions, not before that. And sometimes, I will show you some numbers later, it may be a big deal because a lot of product people are doing a lot of work, creating a lot of documentation, and 70% of that is discarded as soon as the developer reviews that. Just because it's, let's say that's my favorite answer, it simply can't be done. So basically, you have to check that. You have to check that early, and that's what we could fix. So again, sometimes we could have a very interesting challenge between a PM and a developer. And this particular challenge will be regarding, let's say, cutting corners. So a feature looks nice, but a developer feels like, a great developer who is going to be proactive feels like that something could be cut out and forces the PM to follow his or her lead. So that could be an issue again, and again, that is something we could address. So the last but not least is my favorite, and that's something we managed to build to work so great at Flow. I don't work for them already, but I'm still proud of that. And if you, for some reason, would like to join Flow, that is something that you would find. Everybody in the team is committed, and everybody in the team understands what are we actually doing. So even if you are a junior front-end developer who is basically fixing an icon in the anonymous community inside Flow, you know what are you actually going to achieve with that? What kind of metrics are you moving? What kind of users will react to that? And so on. Just because that is a cultural thing. But that takes too long to master, and there are issues with that, like, at Flow, we had to hire only senior people for like 7 years straight. Now it's senior and sometimes middle, but at first that was a problem, especially for our CFO, because the budgets were so high. So, but the idea is still here. There is a way to cut the corners here as well. So you could make people committed without them being so senior. They are feeling they need to be committed at the first place. Okay, so what are the solutions that you usually could see on the markets? And I'm not reinventing anything. I just did my job. I just tried to apply that first at Social Discovery Group, then at Flow, and with my product consulting clients. I don't know a proper name for that, but there are companies I consult from 2017, and we test a lot of approaches with them as well. So basically, when I see a new company, they are either following the first or the second lead. So that's either paperwork will fix everything. You have to document, anything. Even if you're moving your finger, but you're not touching the keyboard, you should document that. So basically, that is a good one. That fixes the problem, but you have a lot of limits connected to that. So basically, the biggest outcome is team velocity drops. You document a lot, you code less, velocities. Well, sometimes if you will still assign story points to the documentation issues, the velocity is so good, but features shipped, not so. So that is the first one. Least favorite, in my opinion, but still it works. The second one is the complete opposite, so let the people talk, let the people discuss, let them challenge each other, and so on. But here is where the PMs are basically abusing the system. So when you're a developer, your job could be, well, actually measured in different ways. Some of them are efficient, more efficient. Some of them are less efficient, but they are still efficient. That doesn't work for PMs if you're not following the first one, where you could just rely on the number of pages written. But for the second one, the PMs feel full freedom to discuss everything, and you've got an enormous number of calls, an enormous number of meetings, an enormous number of, hey, can we have a quick chat right now for just 5 minutes? I know you're in the middle of something, but I have an idea that I just came by. So that is an issue. And again, that is something we could address and something we could fix. So basically, when you're moving between those two approaches, you're kind of in this particular situation. I have seen companies moving back and forward, and basically it is a problem again. There is no opportunity here, because what you usually do is first you feel like you start shipping more features. Even if you start with this, if you're adding more things, or if you're adding more documentation, that doesn't matter. I just created one meme, I could create two. Both would work for the situation. The thing is that at the end of the day, you start shipping features that make no sense, but you do it goddamn faster. So you could really look at your velocity, and it's way better than it was a year ago. But if you will look at the business metrics, they're stalling. So that's what we're going to fix with you. That is the whole framework. I do not expect you to see that. I'm just showing you the whole one. Now we will zoom in, and I will guide you through. But basically, Product Scrum consists of bringing sprints to the PMs and connecting those sprints to the engineering sprints. Like one goes out of the product sprint, one goes into the engineering sprint. That's so easy. The interesting part is what happens in the middle. So basically, again, I do not expect you to read everything. We will zoom even more. But the idea is that we have two bigger tasks for a PM to follow. So first one is managing the ideas backlog. And that could be a very big issue for, like, let's say, most of the companies I have encountered have that. So they do not manage ideas, they manage tasks. So in order to create an idea, you have to create a task. And basically, when you have a very broad idea, you have to create a task. It has a number, and basically it starts its journey that will actually, well, hopefully, that will end up in development, or it will be rejected at some point. So the first one is we're splitting the ideas from the tasks. And there is just one thing a developer may help a product manager with here. So we're discussing ideas. We're not discussing tasks. We're not trying to estimate that. That's just bringing more confidence from different people. I will tell you more about that. I just wanted to introduce you to the principles. So that is an out of sprint part. And the sprint is basically trying to get the best ideas we already have and then create real tasks. So basically, something that we could call a task and something we could put in the engineering JIRA will basically create it at the very end of this. So before, we're working on something different, and that's definitely not an engineering task. So here's the first one. And as I said, we could zoom in. So we have kind of ideas that could be different. You could see the bigger theme, and it shows where they actually come from. So that could be discovery sprints, that could be different stakeholders or unspecified input. That's my favorite one. It's when somebody comes by and says, look, we have to develop this. And if this is a CEO, usually that may sometimes go straight to development. So this is the one to fix that, because it goes to the ideas backlog. And even if the CEO will be very persuasive on that, you still may say, okay, we're following the framework and your idea is highly prioritized, but that is still an idea. That is not a task. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That is hard to tell all the stakeholders that they will need to follow this one. But when you show them how it works for velocity, usually they change their minds immediately. Like when you have like a 30% boost, that is huge. So basically, what a PM or a team of product people is going to do is they should absorb all the ideas they can from the users, from their colleagues, like from their competitors, that doesn't matter. And they manage the ideas backlog. And the thing they're doing routinely is basically score filtering these ideas, trying to fill what is going to work well for our next sprint, looking to one metric only, reach. So what is reach? Like how many users will actually see this on day one? So if we're shipping the feature, how fast it will reach, how many users, that is the first one. No ice scoring, no bullshit, nothing here. We're just adjusting that to the reach. So basically, there is a bigger backlog and there is a short list of sprint candidates. So something that could go to the product sprint, not the engineering sprint, just the product one. And basically, we are 100% sure that we're not even discussing the ideas that will affect 10 customers, 100 customers, if you're not a high-level B2B where every customer matters. But still, you're just pre-filtering something that could maybe affect someone on their 47th day in the app. Well, you would definitely do this if you would not have better ideas. And if you don't have better ideas, you better fire your PM. So it goes straight to sprint, and then a PM and the product team starts with a traditional sprint planning, just like the engineering team. They're taking the best tasks they can, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to the most interesting part. What happens in the product sprint? In a product sprint, we have just one very limited ritual, and this limited ritual is a product grooming. So the PM is encouraged to present their ideas on a time span of 1 hour per sprint. That depends on the PM, that depends on the company, that depends on the number of PMs, so that is highly volatile, so you could move it here or there, but basically for a company that has 3 to 5 PMs shipping the same product, that metric would work. Everybody in the team is encouraged to join. Marketing people, engineering people, like everyone. And you could ask any questions regarding the ideas. But that should be about the ideas only. Like, do you feel like it is something that we could do? Do you feel like it really reflects what our customers want? We're not trying to add more confidence, but we're crowdsourcing that. We will hear a lot of pretty stupid questions. We will hear a lot of controversial opinions, but we want to hear that. We want to make sure that we're not moving forwards with the tasks that would not work later. So as soon as that is just an idea, we're trying to assume if it is a good idea or not. And that is the first part of that ritual, the first part of that meeting, if you're making it a meeting, or an asynchronous ritual if you prefer doing that in a Slack channel. So the second part is reviewing hypothesis. And a hypothesis is pretty different from an idea because it has more attributes. It already has a metric. It already has a pre-scored simplified ICE. So you basically answer to a very simple question if you're talking about an idea, like what do we want to do? But for hypothesis, you're answering a question, what do we want to do and why? And this why brings some numbers in. So basically, for very straightforward, very strong ideas, it is completely understandable to move this hypothesis, to move this idea to the hypothesis phase during one meeting. If not, you may want to go to do your homework for one sprint or so to understand if it actually fits. Because there would be stupid questions, there would be great questions that will need to be addressed, and you will basically narrow down the scope of your idea to understand how that could be implemented. Then you have hypotheses that are already groomed, and everybody in the team agrees that we should move forward with that. And when we're moving forward, they become task candidates. So with task candidates, you start all the designing thing, you start all the documentation thing, and so on. That doesn't mean that before that you don't have a design. But you may have very simple wireframe style design, or that could be just kind of mood boarding from your competitors, or that could be anything so that your crowd you're presenting to would understand what you're actually talking about. So, yeah, that's what you force the PMs to do, and actually they like it. The only thing they may not like is that they're limited by just 1 hour, but that is something that is really achievable on a short time span. Again, I will tell you more about that later. So basically the tasks that are ready go to the real engineering grooming before getting to the engineering backlog. And it is the right place to talk about, well, anything you could talk about in an engineering task. So where is the magic? Basically, there is no real magic here, but the good news is tasks are dropped off before they even become tasks. So you invest very little time of the whole company to get rid of a significant part of tasks that are, let's say, questionable. And basically, you feel like you could fix that even before they start being developed, even before they start being evaluated, just because you make sure it's something that you really intend to do. And the second part, that's the hard one. Grooming is voluntary. So you can join, you can skip, that's fine. But the only rule I really encourage everybody to implement is if you skip groomings, you have no voice. So it's like election. So you skip election, then you don't complain about the politics. So that is something that really sounds strange from a guy that was born in Russia, but still, in my country now, politics matters. So what happens is people are committed, and those who are not committed are peer pressured into being committed. So let's say you're a developer and you're getting a task and you say, okay, I don't understand what's that about. You could remember the emoji faces I have threw in before. So basically the correct answer, well, you'd better attend the grooming. And more people attending the grooming make it a real cultural thing. Basically, the most surprising thing to me, that's actually 30 to 40% of the engineering team is actually attending groomings. And the others are completely fine with being passive, with just doing what they are told to do. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We're not discussing that today. But actually, your goal is not to commit everyone. Your goal is to commit like 30% of your team. And that's not much. That's why it's kind of doable. So, a short recap of what is actually fixed and what are we actually doing. So, communication that is crucial is now capped at 1 hour or maybe more, but still that is manageable and that is formalized. So you have a certain format of presenting the tasks And if that is not in, let's say, a one-slide format with no numbers and a design, you simply can't approach a person and say, okay, I have an idea. That wouldn't work in the company anymore. If you have an idea, you should have one slide about that. Please show that to me during the grooming, because you're showing that not to me only, but to everybody. So, again, dev team is committed from the very beginning. They have better understanding what they're doing. They could help PM prioritize, at least from the easiness of the tasks perspective. But actually, again, from my experience, they could contribute way more. So, tasks that are questionable are discarded. They're discarded early. The company doesn't spend time, product time, engineering time, marketing time, nothing. And then the last one is about the phase where you create tasks, and those tasks are going to be atomized. So that means that the scope of the tasks you're discussing during the grooming is constantly reduced. And if you're reducing that, you're getting rid of the requirements that are, well, optional. So, the real-life numbers, I decided to share that. That is data from 6 of my current company clients that have implemented Product Scrum during last and this year. And basically, I can't tell you anything more specific, but you could just look at the numbers and you could understand what the outcome may be. So, a very good chunk of tasks will be discarded or deprioritized, that is basically discarded. So, moving tasks from sprint to sprint, so working on the same tasks again and again because there are new requirements or there are things that were not so understandable at the very beginning, and we just decided to meet again and make the scope a bit bigger. Well, you know that. So basically, this thing skips. This thing skips drastically. And you may know that the companies I worked with are pretty efficient because they already had that at 30 to 40% level, not 90% that I have seen before. So canceling the tasks in development. That is not a crucial issue, but it's really something that could demotivate a developer when you're doing something and then instantly you feel like, okay, we don't have to do that anymore. So again, that is dropped to exactly 0. And that is something I'm very proud of, because these kind of tasks really can't survive the grooming and really can't survive the following procedures. And my favorite one, because I'm a product person in the first place, is the experiment success rate. So basically, when you want to grow, the first thing you want to do, you want to run more experiments over time. So basically, you're not optimizing the number of experiments, you're optimizing the growth of the number of experiments. But it is crucial to maintain your success rate for that not to drop in somewhere in the middle. So basically, the success rates actually boosts because the experiments you're moving to the development are simply better. So the timeline, I just wanted to share that with you so you may understand. If you want to start doing that, that could be driven by a CPO or a CTO or an engineering manager. Well, basically that is a good thing that could work both top-down or from the bottom. That's fine. So average PM will spend around 1 sprint creating an ideas backlog of their task backlog, ideas, sticky notes, Miro boards, anything. That's not a long one. So first ideas grooming is something that you could launch shortly afterwards. So you just need to organize that. You just need to find 1 hour. But basically, it is hard only for the first time because adding that 1 hour cancels like 6 to 8 hours of indirect communication that may follow that up if you're not doing that in the first place. So I would expect that first real groomings, then you groom not only ideas, but the hypothesis will still take up to a month. Because when you start talking about ideas, you will basically discuss the ideas and you will not step to the hypothesis phase because everybody is not committed because everybody has so many questions, and you will have to get this through, but actually that's 1 to 2 sprints. But you need to survive that. That is the hard part, actually. So, and again, there's just 1 sprint after that to document the tasks and to create the documentation, to create the requirements that could later be used. So that is up to 3 months from start to getting your product Scrum working. And actually, that was enough for you to try and start. If you want more guidance on that, feel free to contact me. I could tell you more about real implementations that happened or what are the different issues you may find or have any kind of direct guidance. Again, I'm here to help. That's fine. I really like this idea. I really crave for great products. So if you need help, contact me. That's easy. That's my LinkedIn. Thank you.
My name is Nick. I'm lead designer, Novo company. I have a set of questions related to that. It's really interesting. Thank you. We are implementing something similar, and I think that we can combine 2 ideas together. The first question would be the high level, and I'm going dive deep into the details.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm curious how it correlates with the roadmap.
That is a good one. So roadmap is kind of a vision for that. So at first, well, that is the sad part, you will have to discard your roadmap for the next quarter. So you have your current roadmap, and you know it would be wasted, but you will have to waste it. That's fine, because you can't stop the development instantly. That's like it's like an atomic power station. It simply can't be stopped somewhere in the middle and not blow up. So what you do is you're slowly converting, and actually it could take up to a quarter to switch. So you're trying to finish your tasks from your roadmap. You're not creating a new one because you're working on the ideas, you're working on the hypothesis, and then looking at those hypotheses from the bottom to the top, you could fit that in your roadmap. So you will still see the vision, you will still see the strategy that helps you filter the ideas. But the roadmap will be created from the bottom.
Do I understand correctly that ideally this process should go before I have a roadmap? So, for example, now December, and we don't have a roadmap for the next year, and we're plan.
Oh, so if we're talking about annual roadmaps, yeah. So if that's about updating in your roadmap, so the best part is you could start anytime, but you should start before your roadmap is created. I was thinking you're referring to quarterly roadmaps because I know more companies tend to use it these times because that's more agile. And that's why you have like 3 more times to start it during a year. That's cool.
So the ideas are quite big, right? I mean, when you discuss the ideas, it's not something small. And you're not discussing the ideas.
Yeah, I could give you an example. So for Flow, partner mode was an idea. So let's just make sure your partner will know what's happening to you. That is an idea. What was the first hypothesis? Well, that was way more narrow than that. That was just connecting somebody's account to your and just sharing a limited amount of data.
One more follow-up question. And I'm curious how to deal with the capacity because, for example, currently I'm running 4 projects at the same time, and all of my team cannot be engaged because they need to code and they need to also dive deep into the details of some of the projects they already involved. How to deal with that? So
I have a great example. One of my clients runs 4 different apps, and they started implementing that project by project. So there was just one certain team that dedicated 1 hour a sprint and that started grooming tasks. Then the other joined, that's 2 hours combined. And then they moved forward to the other 2, but they limited every product with just 30 minutes. And actually it works for them for like 6 months and they're growing. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Hi, I'm Anna Maria from Ecobit in Croatia. I really like the idea of ideas backlog.
Thank you.
And who do you think should have the access to it? Who should fill it in? Should it go through the PM, or the whole team can access it and input their ideas anytime? Or
that is a brilliant question. I didn't cover that. Shame on me. So basically, PM owns the ideas backlog. So PM is the one who's responsible of the format. Everybody could add, but they could align with the PM. So you can't just type in something. You have to discuss that with the PM, or if you're on a different side, a PM could create requirements of what an idea may look like. But from my opinion, at this stage, it's better to discuss. Okay, you're adding more fitness.
I'm curious if it has an influence on the current roadmap. Let's say we run the product sprint like for 2 months. We agreed on the roadmap for the next year, roughly. And we continue to do it in what cadence? Like every week, every month, or...
Oh, that is a great part. So basically, when you're talking about longer roadmaps, let's say quarter to 1 year, basically your roadmap items are very high level. Mm-hmm. So you're putting an item that sounds like a very broad idea, let's say to November, and you really have no idea what are you going to do to fix that, or what you're going to do to achieve that. So basically, when you're gathering ideas and when you're working on grooming the ideas, you keep your roadmap in mind. So you want to achieve that, but you have no idea what are you going to do. So the closer to deadline, the more ideas regarding that particular item in the roadmap you will spend your time on.
Okay, so I can change and tune the roadmap on the way.
You're not changing. I mean, you definitely could change the roadmap. You could change the vision. You could change the strategy. So everything is so agile. But you want to keep that on the level where it could be manageable without being changed. So that could still be very broad. Like, let's say, again, in another example for, that would be for Flow, that would be for dating.com. So we have seen that we have an opportunity to cater to the users who are actually just looking. So, in dating apps, sometimes you want to date, sometimes you just enjoy exposing yourself or, trying to validate someone. Mm-hmm. That's fine. So we knew that is an opportunity. We didn't have a certain feature in mind, but we put that on a roadmap in a way that sounded these particular users that spend time in the app for nothing should have something to convert. Mm-hmm. So basically, it is a very broad definition, but we know that we could do this. We know we could allocate like 3 to 6 sprints to that, and we could achieve something. So that's how it goes to the roadmap. What is a particular idea? We have no idea at the very beginning, but we're moving towards that during the year, and we're basically narrowing that down.
So just to recap, the main idea is to kind of give a voice for developers to make a pushback if they don't like some of the ideas, to make an influence on the roadmap, right?
Exactly. So basically you're making it so public that anybody could say that, and again, peer pressure works. So if that was something that shouldn't be discarded, people will support the PM. If there is something that should be discarded, but people were too shy to speak up, well, basically they will support the one who raised the question. That's cool. Democracy.
Thank you, guys. We need to wrap up, but we can continue, and you can chase Andrey at the entrance and ask more questions if you're curious. So, thank you for coming. And
thank you.